Welcome to Journey Now, a podcast about following Jesus that takes on serious issues without ever taking itself too seriously. Each week, the pastors, staff, and friends of Journey Church in Brentwood, Tennessee gather to catch up, share life together, and laugh a little. Okay, a lot. Maybe too much. But along the way, they also explore what it really means to bring heaven to earth, share Jesus' hospitality, and live cross-shaped lives. Part babble, part Bible, and occasionally even thoughtful and entertaining. This is Journey Now.
Tim, welcome to another journey. Dark and cold. Steep, dark, and cold.
Yeah, that's his personality.
That is. And
my personality?
Yeah.
And a stare.
Steep,
actually,
dark, and cold.
It is
you accelerate, like 0 to 80.
Yeah.
It's dark. I mean,
A lot of
the 70%,
Yes.
the people don't hear.
Yeah, that's it.
And man, you do not verbally affirm
Testosterone is
anybody.
abounding in this room. There is no female today.
Yeah.
Suzie is absent.
Yeah, which,
For a good reason.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, Suzie, let's be honest. If there was a bomb dropped on this room.
I know
right now,
I know where you're going.
Yeah,
Go on.
we'd be fine.
Yeah.
If Suzie was by herself and there was a bomb dropped, we'd have to shut down.
Yeah.
Oh, you
So-
mean the church would be fine?
Yeah, the church
we
would
would
be
be
fine.
dead.
Or the city.
Well,
We wouldn't be fine.
I mean, if Jesus is real, then we'd be fine too.
Yeah.
But a friend is a friend forever.
Yeah.
If the Lord
Yeah.
is the Lord of
Yeah.
and a friend will not
Is that
say
where-
never.
No.
Yeah.
Is that where we're going?
Well, no, I mean I didn't want to start there, but yes.
Yes. If a bomb dropped on this room.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
We'd-
just
we'd
saying,
all be okay.
I'm affirming Suzie P. Lind and
Yes.
the centrality of Suzie to our entire community.
Well, speaking of a bomb dropping on this room,
Oh,
it stinks.
Yes?
No, I'm kidding. Apparently,
Tim had Taco Bell?
no. We've got a special guest.
Okay, yes, the sign is out.
Yeah, the
Yes.
signs out.
And so
The
Edwin,
sign's out.
I heard that I think it's a dude.
you think it's a dude?
I think it's a
Which,
dude.
by the way, June is Father's Day month.
So this makes sense.
It makes
makes
sense.
sense.
It makes sense. Men are so rarely appreciated
Yeah.
in American
Yeah,
culture.
yeah.
And I just feel like,
Especially-
yeah,
yeah.
especially
Pregnancy.
white men.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just feel it's important, to honor. I mean, moms. It's Mother's Day every day for moms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so true.
So-
That's in my house for sure. Every day is like, Mom, how can we serve you? Oh, I was totally wrong. Dang it.
Swing and a
Oh,
miss.
swish!
Hey.
This just got.
Welcome to the
Oh,
Journey Now
ladies and
podcast.
gentlemen, we've got to set this up. Listen, there aren't
Not who we
many.
expected.
Tim had it set up for a dude.
I,
Did you know?
no.
No,
I just
this is all fresh.
one of them said like,
we had no
oh,
idea who was
he's
coming.
doing something. So I'm like, oh, it must be a guy because they were
wow,
kind of being all
he-
code.
Yeah. But no.
Yeah.
It is. Listen.
Yeah.
If the 1980s had a face and a name,
It does.
the 1980s.
1984.
For our dozen listeners, we did our demographic study.
Yeah.
Listeners.
And our dozen listeners, 3 of them are under the age of 50, which
yeah.
is fantastic.
Perfect.
For those of you, this will not make sense, but for those of you, the majority,
Yeah.
man, the 80s. Oh, that optimism. Ronald Reagan.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Right, the space shuttle.
Wow.
Mary Lou Retton. And then the music.
The Challenger.
Now, let me tell you,
If y'all don't know who just joined us, her
Yep.
name is Stephanie
Stephanie
Skipper.
Skipper. I'm getting there.
Yeah,
I'm getting there.
He was doing a whole reveal.
I did this whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like, Kevin?
So
Mike,
there are
say her
several
name.
things. There are several things about the 80s
Yeah.
that are reflected in our friend. First of all, colorful.
Yes.
Absolute
Yes.
There it
colorful.
is.
Fluorescent.
Yes.
Like
Style.
neon. I mean, just
Style.
Hold,
beautiful.
please.
Secondly.
Oh gosh.
Oh, yes. Here we
all
go.
right, for the 4 of you watching on YouTube, you see this. But
Did you wanna try that
Yeah, no,
on?
right there. Right there.
That's
That's it.
I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, please explain what just happened, Mike.
Okay, so you know how
Speaking of 80s.
Cinderella The story of Cinderella
Yes.
is the shoe goes on and
Yeah,
she
yeah, yeah.
becomes a princess.
Yes.
What happened here is the reverse, where a princess took off her shoe and the whole room improved. It
Yeah.
smells better.
Yeah, it does
per
smell
your,
better. Yeah.
Per your thing.
Bomb.
Rarely does
Yeah.
someone take off a shoe and it smells better.
Yeah.
That's
true.
happening.
That's true.
But the shoe, let me just describe it. It's a pink sort of, what material would you say that is?
Patent leather.
Patent leather. Patent.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Not
I would
I
say
was
it's like
doing
a punk
Coke
rock Barbie
advertisement
shoe.
there.
It's a punk rock. It's got spikes in honor of
Studs.
like Mad Max.
Yeah, I watched that last night. That's so funny.
Furiosa
How was it?
or Fury
the
Road?
Fury Road.
Okay, so good. So good.
Great, yeah.
All that is to say. So the shoe is the embodiment of the person, and the person is the embodiment of the decade.
Wow.
And ladies and gentlemen, Stephanie Skipper's here. Now, she also is multidisciplinary. She is an author. She just published her first book.
Yes,
she
right.
just
did.
turned 40, so she's got massive amounts
Some
of
decades
wisdom.
under the belt now.
Which I
And
need to review on Amazon.
She
I read it.
is a rock star in so many venues, but you do an 80s review show that is
Yes.
ridiculous that I've not yet had the pleasure to see. What's the name of the
Rubik's
thing?
Groove. We play all the hits from the 80s and 90s. So it's a good time.
What's your favorite one to sing?
I love
Valid.
Whitney. So
Oh.
How Will I Know or I Want to Dance with Somebody.
Oh,
Those songs changed my life.
Somebody
Yeah.
who loves me.
Do you
Is
know
that how-
what?
is
Why
that
don't you
close?
sing it
Is that
next
close?
time?
Yes.
Next,
close?
when you
Is there
do
an
come to a
opening?
show,
Yeah, is there an opening in the,
Yeah.
roster?
I think the tutu would look great on you as well. Because part of the gimmick is we dress up as characters from the 80s and 90s. So I dress up as She-Ra,
Oh, She-Ra.
Obvious.
the Princess
Yes.
of Power.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Yes. Brad is going nuts. Brad loved He-Man.
Okay.
He loved the He-Man universe. She-Ra. I'm not going to say what Brad thought about She-Ra. That was totally inappropriate as an adolescent. So let's just
Well, a
end it
lot of
there.
people don't know who
Yeah.
She-Ra is.
Yeah. Really?
So people I've had and
She-Ra
younger
Easton?
generations maybe.
Yeah.
So I had a little boy ask if I was the female Thor, and I was
well,
like, "Well, we can run with that."
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah, that works.
In a way.
That'll probably make it in the Marvel.
One other thing.
Yeah.
Stephanie Skipper has a great deal of wisdom.
True.
And so hallelujah. It's if it were just the three of us today, I'm not sure it would have been worth sifting through the rubble. But now,
True.
it absolutely is. Stephanie, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us, how long have you been at Journey? Because it's been a while.
It's been a minute.
Right?
I think longer than anyone in the room. I've been at Journey.
Oh, yeah.
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 I was part of, a lot of people don't know this about Journey's history, that
Yeah,
we were
tell 'em.
originally part of a merge. People have experienced church splits,
were a
but
church
Journey,
merge.
in some of our original founding DNA, we were part of a merge. So I moved to town in 05.
Yep.
And I went to a church that met in the factory called Ecclesia. And
Which is Spanish
Yeah.
for El Nino.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not Spanish.
Yeah.
So,
Right. But people, the name was confusing because people were like, Ecclesia?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
weren't quite
Yeah.
sure.
right.
Yeah.
And then our founding pastor had ideas to move into some media ministry, and he was feeling called away from speaking and leading a church. Well, this other guy had started a church named Journey, and we merged, and we said, this is going to be like a marriage. We're going to merge our finances and our congregations. And it was really beautiful.
Was there a lot of anxiety around that, or was
There
there
was,
excitement?
and then it ended up being really beautiful and good, and the church grew.
How rare is that?
I know. So that was kind of special in our early years, and I was there for it. And so I've been at Journey since 06 in its sort of founding. 07, the merge, I think, happened early 07. I know.
You've seen some
And
stuff.
I have stuck it out, y'all.
You totally have.
Yeah.
Some seasons.
Yeah.
Totally have.
There was a season where I felt like I needed, in a healthy way, to evaluate, is this still? Because one of
course.
Journey's, another beautiful part of our DNA is there's a lot of places you can experience the kingdom and community. There are a lot of great churches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are not the only one.
Right.
And so
We're not even one. But yeah.
not all the time.
Yeah.
But sometimes we are. And anyway, I needed to evaluate, is this still healthy and good? Do I need to experience community elsewhere just for my own growth? And I really felt like God said, you'll know And I was like, okay, so it's either gonna like all kind of crumble and we're all gonna go in different directions. Like Journey might not make it, and we might all scatter.
I've thought that a few times. Yeah.
Or like I'll know when it's time to go. And I felt like God was like, or there might be like a third way, right?
What?
I know. Imagine that. It might be something where you learn in the process, and it might be like a hard goodbye, or it might be a hard stay, or it might be, growth is sometimes we're not comfortable in it. And that's what, as a result, we grow. Yeah. So there were some uncomfy seasons for me at Journey, and I have felt just called to love this community. And one of the ways that was difficult was when I looked out and I didn't recognize a lot of people. I thought, oh my gosh, like the people I knew here, the people I was in community with are gone. Yeah. And my husband, Tim, was an elder first season, and we led worship one Sunday, and I think it was an Easter. And so the church was full, but we looked around and we were like, we don't know these people.
I don't know anybody.
Yeah. And Tim said he had a really profound experience where he felt like God said, these are the people I'm asking you to love. Will you love them? Will you? And so it was like a new commitment to, wow, I am in a different community. I didn't go anywhere, but a whole bunch of new people came to me. And then a reinvesting. And we got some people to get to know, and like, let's stay engaged in. So many different seasons of Journey, but I'm really enjoying this one.
Good.
So,
That's awesome.
So here I am.
Thank you for joining us today. Edwin?
I have one question,
Yeah,
Stephanie,
2 for 2.
that I need to understand. I need to know, because this is a conversation I have with my wife periodically.
Yeah, Whitney
usually
Houston.
about every 2 weeks. She gets her nails done. I ask the color. What is that color? I have not seen that color.
Great question.
You ask your wife
And-
that question, what her color it is?
Yeah.
What color her nails are? Yeah,
Okay.
because
What color Stephanie's
Nails are?
nope.
Okay.
I asked
What color?
her what hers are.
You asked Lori what color
Does she
Lori's
feel
are.
honored by that? Would that be a really honoring question?
Is it a bad question? But
No.
It's not a bad question.
I'm curious because I've not seen that blue color
I
before.
want to be a better husband.
This is
I do.
like a royal blue.
A
Yeah,
royal.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
It's
yep.
like a
Usually
bright
royal
royal.
blue.
There's usually like a fancy, like
Which is
she comes home and says, I picked salmon with da 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 da.
Oh yeah,
There's
the
like,
nail color names
Yeah.
are hilarious
Yes.
and
Yeah.
fun.
that's
I
why
wanna be- I wanna
that's
name-
why
I wanna
I'm
name those.
asking.
Okay, I see. I go
want that
way
job.
more off of what I'm feeling when I go.
Oh, okay. So what's this?
It's
What's royal
very
blue
much-
feel? What's royal blue feel like? Like power?
I mean, if you really want to know,
I don't. I want to know.
Obvious.
There, I'll describe for the listener.
Wow.
Yeah.
About half of the nail is royal blue.
Yep.
Then there's the bottom half near the nail base is clear.
Yes.
And there's a dividing line, like a black,
Black. Yeah.
I see
line.
that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
That's
part of
cool.
the strategy is I do love to have my nails done, but it's expensive and it takes a while, and I don't want to be inconvenienced all that often
That's
to
fair.
do it.
That's really fair.
So with the clear at the nail base, you can't
Yeah.
see how far it grows out.
they just get
so
longer.
it just gets
Got it.
longer.
Got it.
And I had done a bright yellow, and I feel like my soul color is like a fiery orange.
Yes.
And
Sure.
so
I
I
would
gotta
agree with that.
not use
Yeah.
that one
Yeah.
too much,
No.
right?
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah. No,
I
you
need
can't
a
overdo
couple
it.
in between.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so since I was yellow, I'm drawn to primary.
Yeah.
The red will
Yep.
be
So is
next,
Mike.
but
Yeah.
I
Yep, me too.
knocked out the blue.
I'm a fall.
So
I'm more of a fall.
are you?
Yeah.
I like the blue.
Thanks. Yeah,
mean,
I,
the blue,
do too.
looks
As
good.
Debbie Gibson would say, it's electric blue.
Right.
Oh.
On fire.
Well, back to the 80s cover band. I do like, we have some black lights, and I love when my nails are
yeah.
fluorescent
When they're popping.
because they
When they're
catch,
popping.
and I
Yep.
talk with my hands a lot. I sing with my hands.
Yep. Wake
in fact,
me up
some
before
of our
you go.
some of our Journey fellows have mentioned that when I
Don't stop
sing,
believing.
they love how when I'm leading worship, I use my hands so much, and they like my nails because they notice
Yeah.
singing. I have
Yeah.
this ethereal, like as I'm singing, I have to like not consciously. Sometimes I have to remember to not act out.
Yeah,
Be
yeah,
like,
yeah.
call me maybe,
yeah. Oh,
that's
you know,
funny.
and, like act out everything.
Like you do in your show?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes,
Jesus.
Jesus.
Yes,
Love
Lord.
it.
Yes,
Yes.
Lord. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So-
Jazz hands. Perfect.
You know,
Perfect.
trying to not be distracting in
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
worship. While also engaging in my own way.
And having pink hair. Totally.
Well, yeah, the
It's-
pink hair is new.
Okay, so
was
let me ask this question.
Yeah.
Does that reflect a feeling as well?
It was very
Because
impulsive.
my hair color does. Yes.
Yeah. It was something I'd been wanting to do, and I was not sure if I would like it or not.
Okay.
It's a color depositing shampoo.
I've always,
Yeah.
So you just
try to avoid those.
I
but
was
yes.
also
CDS is always my favorite.
Yeah.
That's my favorite shampoo.
Sometimes it causes a rash, but it's okay.
Well, I just went for it,
Different place.
and I could see in the shower that it was way brighter than I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So I
but it looks so good.
Well, I SOS washed
Yeah,
it
yeah,
twice
yeah,
with
yeah.
regular shampoo
Yeah.
to try and get it toned down. So
And did that work?
now it's at like a cotton candy where
Yeah,
I wanted it.
yeah.
Looks like I
I-
danced with
yeah.
a unicorn too long.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, or it feels like you could belong to Bananarama.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Or I could be Gem and the holograms.
Oh, come
Another
on.
80s
Let's
reference.
Go. Yeah,
Oh,
Brad,
wow.
that's
Supersonic? Anybody?
Yeah. Oh, that's your
Supersonic?
one. Salt and pepper. It's not salt and pepper, Tim.
I know.
It's not. Okay.
All right.
There was a lot of bad religion in the 80s.
Yes.
And you know,
I've heard that.
and with bad medicine. There was a lot of bad medicine in there. Bon Jovi, anybody?
Yeah.
Okay. I
What
hope
was that? 80s?
that was 80s. Yeah.
Bad
That was after
medicine
Slippery
is
When
what
Wet.
I
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It was underwhelming.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
an underwhelming.
Yeah.
But you know, where are you going to go after you give love a bad name?
Yeah.
Right?
Come on.
Yeah.
What's love got to do with it? Never mind. Just
There
keep
you
going.
Tina Turner.
Tina Turner.
Yeah, Thunderdome. Mad Max Thunderdome, bro. Way to go.
Wasn't that 80s?
Yes.
Sure was.
Yes. Well
R.I.P.
done. That's Kevin. Kevin's entered
He
the
woke
chat.
up. Yeah. He woke up.
In the chat, ladies and gentlemen.
Kevin
Oh.
says, I would like to
Yeah.
contribute.
Just something.
Yeah.
Miss Congeniality.
Yeah.
No.
That
Kevin's got one movie fastball
Yeah.
and one 80s song
Yeah.
fastball.
Tina
There it
Turner.
is. There it is. All right. So,
Speaking of bad religion.
yes, a lot of bad religion in the 80s.
In the 80s.
Yes, so we just did a series of conversations on the woes, ladies and gentlemen, that Jesus utters against the Pharisees, or at least some of the Pharisees. And Stephanie,
Good luck.
I know.
how? Yeah. Well, I mean, was there anything because sometimes you're forced to listen twice?
Sometimes.
Yes.
Was there anything that just popped this week and you thought, man, that's the reflex right there?
Or
That's
during the series.
Yeah, or
because-
the whole series.
I mean, this is the recap.
Yeah, this is the recap,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen. This,
Yes.
yeah.
And you can say pass. Pass.
It's a new
also
moon on
totally
Monday.
works.
Yes. Yeah, you don't have to.
No, I want to address just what we talked about in between services.
Yes.
That was really, and Mike gave me like a little nod in the second service. So sometimes I do have the benefit of listening twice, and in between the services, I corner Mike in the
Yeah.
kitchen green room, and I'm like, hey, I had a feeling,
Yeah.
or I have a question, and I was too scared to raise my hand. But we talked about the your house will be left desolate. And you defined, what that actually means is God will abandon it.
Yeah.
And I'm a little girl with some daddy issues that has been the thorn in my side, and God has used it to teach me and reveal himself to me. Mm-hmm. But that word is triggering for me.
Absolutely.
And it took me a minute, because I actually think it was one of those times where I didn't hear anything you said after that, because I was doing my own work to go, God abandoned. God abandoned. Does God abandon? And when? Do we push too far? Is he finally the last straw? That's it. I've been patient and now I'm out, And so I was like, but I had the image of a house, and there was so much set up to the invitation I wanted, you didn't want. And so, I also have learned that there is a time where you can't bend somebody else's will. You can request, repeat, and eventually, for your own sake, you have to release.
Yeah.
And so I was able to get there, but in between services, I was like, that word was God abandoned?
I know.
Because there are a lot of promises I wish God had made me. My husband and I have struggled with infertility, and I want to claim Sarah's promise as my own. But God has not said that to me. I read that, and I know that God is revealing part of himself and what he can do, and he's showing us through the story of him and Abraham and Sarah. But that's not a promise that I particularly have felt. Yeah. What I have felt is God said, I will never leave you or forsake you. I felt like we were wrestling one day in my journal, and I was like, I want that promise. I'll be willing to wait for a baby if you'll just promise that you'll give me one. And I felt like a loving friend. He like leaned across the table with his head in his hands. I just had this image of God going, do you want a promise? And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm asking for. And I felt like he was okay. I will never leave you, Stephanie. I will never forsake you. So
given the background,
my
is
story,
the promise.
Yeah. Yes. Well, so then I've lived into that, and I've seen him faithful, even when I didn't have an outcome I wanted. He has been so faithful. So all of that came into question, like my God promised, and you just said that he abandons.
Yeah.
And so it was so sweet because I was able to get there on my own, but I think part of community is to allow that struggle to be seen and observed by others, and not go, I can do it myself. I can do all my own work by myself in my head, you know? And so what a gift that I could say, Mike, I have a question. And the other cool thing was it was observed by Betsy, another one of our, and she articulated another gift that you bring is you hold so many references and biblical references and context that you're able to recall so quickly. So you immediately point us back to Ezekiel, was it? And there's context, and there was hope, and maybe you can speak into the hope.
Well, so what a gift you are, and what a gift. So in between services, you can. And this is Kevin. This is like the culture here that I think that it has been prior to my arriving. But there's just been a lot of it feels collaborative. So when you say something like that in the second service, the part I didn't emphasize in the first was when right after he says your house will be left desolate, then he says, but you will see me again.
Yeah.
When you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. And that was the nod to be like, yep, let's hit that. I didn't hit that as much in the first service.
Or I was in somewhere else working through the abandonment word. Yeah. But either way, it was like, there's the hope.
There it is.
Yeah.
Totally.
So not forever.
Yep.
Abandoned, but there is times where God says, I will not force your will.
Totally.
And I've invited, and I will release you to your own.
That's it.
Yeah.
So often wrath is, as we've talked about before, is when God gives us over. And it's not that he abandons,
right?
But that he allows us our agency,
have our way. Yeah.
Totally.
Yes.
Totally. And it's hard. It's heartbreaking. Obviously, when people in our lives we wish would make different choices and we can't control them. I cannot imagine on a 7 billion person human scale for God to be aware and present in all of that. You know, I wanted, Jesus said to Jerusalem, but you did not want. And how many times does he say that to me, to you, to whatever?
Yes.
So it's just the fact that the whole critique ends on Jesus's sorrow, I think is so significant, you know, that you realize he's been speaking this harshly for the purposes of redemption.
Yes.
Right.
Kevin, what was popping in your convos?
Poppin'. There's just a real struggle with when you listed off barbarian, manager, bureaucrat, and aristocrat.
Yeah.
A lot of the people in there have been a part of aristocratic environments, and they want to know. They really wanted to wrestle with, well, when is it okay to defend the church or the establishment and
that's a great question. Because
they all were a part of some organization that wanted to preserve itself at the expense of people.
Totally. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I've done that.
So they were asking, when is it okay to do that?
Yeah.
That's such an interesting way to frame that question.
Because it's got to be okay at some point.
Yeah. So what did you have thoughts? Or did you let them just sort of fish around?
I always have thoughts. But the overall struggle is, was, yeah, but if we don't, this is how it kind of played out. I'll just explain a little further, but it played out in this way was, well, if we don't defend the organization, 100 people are going to lose their jobs. And that'll affect 100 other families and So that's how it was explained. It was explained, we have to protect the organization. It's only one person. It's only two people that were victimized by this person. So if we protect, we will benefit all these other people. So does the cost of two, the expense of two, trump the expense of all of these people that will be left in a...
Yeah, what a uniquely American argument.
Oh, that's...
And I went, oh.
Boy, that's not biblical math.
Right.
It really isn't. Oh.
I didn't know what to say at first.
Yeah.
Because I thought, I got to think about that for a minute. No, it's not right to throw away the two for the sake of the 100. They're like, really?
Oh, man.
I'm like, yeah.
Say it. Go.
I mean,
you're seeing. I'm seeing pink everywhere.
I know. I need to say that I put this together in myself, which is why I can see it, because I know my own scarcity and my own tendency to want to play God and want to control outcomes.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
Yeah.
But what I hear in that is, I'm like, oh my gosh, 100 people, we need to preserve them, and we are now in charge of their well-being and their provision, and there's no room for God to disrupt or
surprise.
or surprise. I mean, if we look at creation, there is an end to every season, and winter looks a lot like death, and then spring comes. And so, like, even in the church or good organizations, sometimes there needs to be a season of winter.
Yeah.
And it clears way, because I think we understand from the Jesus narrative on like a forever and eternal sense, there's new life, but we also see that in and out of relationship and life, there is death, and it makes way for new life. So these organizations that cling to and say, no, we can't, we will fight off any death, but sometimes death is refining. It is always messy, and it is usually painful and hard.
It usually plows the ground, though.
It does, yeah. And so if we resist, and then we throw two people under, because it's only two people, we won't allow the refinement that maybe wants to come by living in honesty and bringing things to light. We also, then we miss whatever beauty wants to come and inspiration wants to come from repentance and I was wrong, and I'm willing to take the steps to restore and make amends. And
that's the path we went down.
Yes. So we rob people of that, and we therefore continue in, you just have to get it right. And when you don't, you have to hide.
Yeah.
And that sounds like prison.
Self-protection. Yeah.
Boy, that's juicy. It's a juicy topic.
It was.
Yeah.
Good thought, Steph.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. There's somebody in the group that is a part of the organization Orange.
Oh
that
my
is,
goodness, yeah, that's
just went through.
Yeah, their founder and
I don't know about Orange.
Oh, yeah.
I can Google it later.
Yeah. It is the.
It's the same story 1,000 times.
It's a great people.
Curriculum.
I know really well, and they're both amazing humans, and it's just so sad. It's just like
curriculum from North Point Church in Atlanta.
Okay.
And they grew into this huge. Do you want me to do something?
No. Sorry, I'm just.
Yeah.
But anyway, and she was mentored by both of them, and this just turned into a cluster.
Yeah.
And it just deeply, deeply has affected her in ways that she never dreamt would.
Yeah. Did you want to?
Well, I was just saying, but exactly what you just said. But the beauty is the restoration, is the coming clean with things, because when that can happen, that's like makes it safe for everybody else in some ways. But without that, what an incredible thing to actually experience that you're loved in your most broken state.
Come on.
And we rob ourselves of that if we aren't I mean, if we don't actually believe that we're loved at our messiest. And so there is something coming out of hiding, and there are a ton of consequences, and it doesn't minimize the pain because there's a ripple effect of pain.
Right.
And I don't think God causes it, but God can use it, and God somehow allows it, and can make it beautiful. And all of these things can invite everyone, wherever they're at, to their own growth.
Yeah.
And it can become part of a beautiful story, but gosh, we resist it.
That's right. And that's why I think part of what we're seeing in American Christianity that is so negatively labeled deconstruction is actually a really healthy thing.
I love that you talked about that on Sunday. Where you're like, this actually might be God fighting for his church and going, I'm willing to expose it.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's not of me. And that's the other thing, is that we protect these things that we think are of God. But God is very sure of who he is and is not threatened when we question or when we,
He doesn't need us.
There is no ego in God. And so he is not threatened or offended if we question or if we raise our fist or something fails us and we think it was God that failed us, but actually it was our understanding of, Christian or bad religion that failed us. And we have to pull those threads, and he's so patient and gracious, and he allows himself to be found. And so he's compelling enough, and we don't need to, God doesn't need us. That was really profound for me because I was raised and, we all hear like God needs us to win souls, and God needs us, uses us and
tools,
called and I was like, wait, he's compelling just on his own? Doesn't need me, but he invites me to participate?
The God who needs nothing from us. That's a pretty liberating concept.
Yeah, I like that God.
Yeah. So Kevin, was there anything that came in text line wise that we want to hit in terms of wrap up? I didn't check with you beforehand. If not, I got all sorts of juicy terrain to explore. Yeah.
Mike was sharing and knowing he often questions songs that speak of the individual's heart. So I wonder if you all might kick around sometime thoughts on any balance between our individual thoughts and feelings versus staying in a community mindset, especially when approaching God through music as worship or any lifestyle of worship.
Boy,
and
good.
they ended with thank you.
That's that's a great question for this
because you and I,
we're idiots.
Yeah,
don't mic us ever.
That's true.
Yeah, it really is.
I think it's a balance.
Do you want to dance with somebody?
Yeah, I think it's a balance. We're always trying to figure out how.
That's what I told him. I said we're always kicking this around.
Yeah, and I think Steph knows I've been like pushing us to change things so much toward the like communal singing of these songs.
Yeah.
Yet there's still this personal aspect to it that like there's still a me in the midst of this that joins the communal.
Yeah.
So it's really a tough.
It's tough.
It's a tough balance, and all the songs that we really have are this me, my worry, my king of my heart. All these things that we could poke a lot of holes in.
Be thou my vision.
Yeah.
That's an oldie, but a goodie.
It is important. And so like, I don't want to throw it all out because it feels disingenuous for me sometimes to sing the collective when I need to do work in my own heart, and the collective can't do that work for me. So I need to know, like, back to the abandonment, you'll never leave me or forsake me. Like, there are days where that doesn't feel true. And I need to speak it out on behalf of me. Like, no one can bend my will. And if I show up and in worship, I feel this resistance in me. Like, there needs to be a me and God work. So it's super important that we're inviting our community into that. As the individual, they're doing their work, but also they're not alone in it. And we are making statements as a community, and we're in this together. So I think it's a conversation we're absolutely having. And we as worship leaders can't just throw a we on it and bend everybody else's will to agree with it, so they have to do that themselves.
Is there a reason why there isn't a lot of contemporary music written for the communal or for the corporate? Do you know? I don't.
Well, it's very American.
Yeah.
So I mean, and so I would push further than Stephanie would on that, because I kind of go, I look at the songs I've sung And I go, that's so great, but we're teaching so much in our songs.
Right.
I think it's what they're getting at. It's like, and without us saying every song, guys, this is us. If we're, like reiterating, this is us singing the me, but it's us as a whole collective. It's just so hard. Like I think I've lived in the me land my whole life of like every song I've ever written.
Yeah.
Has always been that. I mean, a few here and there have been the we, but it's just, Mike has pushed on me so hard at times when I'm going like, but there's me in this, there's me in this. And he's like, because biblically, what have you always pushed on me with?
Well, biblically, all the expressions of faith are corporate.
Yeah.
Now, of course, corporate is made up of.
Yeah.
But our imagination has been so stifled by American individualism, we can't even picture the alternative.
Right.
And that's where we almost need to overcorrect a little bit, because to stir our imaginations to the idea that yes, we do our work, but the community works on us, and I never am open to that. You brought it up, and you embody this beautifully, Steph. You embody the both and perfectly, but not a lot of us have that. So the gospel I was preached was a very individualistic gospel,
right?
And that's where it starts. You just work out the individualism from there. It's my, when Paul will clearly say, put on the whole armor of God, it's like, okay, that's me doing that alone,
right?
Instead of saying, no, that's a whole church doing that.
It's meant for the church.
Totally.
Yeah. Versus
I can't carry all that by myself.
So crazy.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. I have to show up and do my part. But part of my part is seeing myself as part of the collective. And that's where it gets really weird, because collectivist societies aren't perfect.
Yeah.
Sometimes you are, for the sake of the organization or the family name or whatever, you're putting up with things that you should not be putting up with. But I'm with you. I've just been so immersed in Meville that the idea that salvation, like this week, we're starting a new series on this topic.
Oh, cool.
Called Social Distortion. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Social day.
Social. Yep. Here it is. So, but the idea is that sin is a corporate concept, and salvation is a corporate concept.
Oh,
that's week
fun.
1.
Let's go.
Is to say that sin, of course, I sin, but rarely is sin named as only an offense towards God. It is almost always explained as, now Psalm 51 is an example where David says, against you and you only have I sinned. And I think that's wrong of him to say, because Nathan confronts him with corporate sin. But
that's true.
But the nature of sin is a corporate sin. So and I think salvation is corporate. So all that means is I'm comfortable with the individual as long as the primary thing in my imagination. And I've never done this. Church has always been a Sunday morning, an affinity group, a program, and that's all it is. And I know intellectually it's not that, but my imagination cannot overcome that I go to church and that's it. I just have this one little thing, and it's whether or not I like it and whether or not, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I think the New Testament calls all of that into question, not so that we'll just put to the group, but rather we'll allow the group to influence us in ways as Americans we're not trained to allow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's a hard thing in some ways, because biblically, like, there aren't songs. I mean, I guess there are psalms, but we have David singing all the songs that he sang that were about me, because this was an argument years ago, like,
Sure.
Oh yeah.
like,
This is
we have too
ongoing.
many me songs. It's like, but look at the Psalms, man. It's everywhere in there that we have to like assess. My X on my wrist every day is that, like, me coming to the table, me coming to the community with what I'm bringing to the table. So it's hard.
It is hard. I think one of the struggles for me is when we take a song that was written and we try and force the we into it from an artistic level. I go, So I do love that Journey is trying to just write and create and think outside. And I really appreciate that. And maybe even searching for, because that, like, in the All Sons and Daughters era, there's a lot of we in that.
Totally. That.
And so I go to that well a lot, because it was written for the we, and just as a, like, artistically, the integrity. Sometimes it feels forced and it doesn't fit, like, the grammar if we put a we in, and then the congregation goes, is this a we? Or some people lead it I, some people lead it we. So there's just the artistic integrity. I push back on that sometimes. Like, we don't have to force every song to be a we.
Well, Kevin does march around saying we need more weeness.
Yeah.
He says that often. And it's
weeness.
It is an appropriate body part.
Yep. It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Sam
Everybody
Barnhart.
has one.
There's no E on the end.
Yep.
On this.
Yeah. There's no E on the end.
I love that, but that
won't
beautifully sets up. So bad religion is the negative aspect of communal life. Social distortion is how we're put back together in community. So it's the new family, it's the new household. We're adopted. Like all of these images are familial.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There it is.
Third
There
time.
it is.
Yeah.
Nailed
Slow
it.
it down.
Nailed it.
Slow it down. Exactly right.
Yeah.
So what a beautiful setup. I'm so glad you brought that question up. Yes,
Well,
Kevin. Say it.
No, there's
Say it.
There's
Say it.
a need for the expansive understanding of what worship is, other than just four songs on Sunday.
Come on,
That's
preach. Someone's preaching.
That's the part
Someone's preaching
that I think helps with the weeness.
Would you say there's a more robust definition needed?
I do.
Okay.
I think I would say worship has been bastardized.
Is that a word? Can we say that word?
Sure.
Because I'll nope. Tim's waving me off. Okay, because I
okay.
was going to
No,
go
it
down a
hasn't
hole.
been.
I was going to go down a rabbit hole there.
I think you're saying great things, Kevin. I would say continue your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But that has been a struggle of mine since I've planted a church back in 1999.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Yeah.
This is not.
We're going to party like it's 1999.
Are we?
Yeah.
Okay. But it's wanting so desperately to quantify something by a category that it's now called worship music, which I try not to be offended by it, but it somehow in me, all of that offends me.
Yeah.
That I'll correct people a lot on that, and then there's times I just go, screw it, I'm done. I don't even want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
So that's where I get defeated.
Yeah.
In understanding for people to move on. I'm hoping this series kind of pushes us.
Yeah, we're not
further.
going to take it.
I'm not taking
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So good.
Oh my gosh.
Endless.
Endless.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Kevin's got the eye of the tiger on there.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Steph.
Yes.
Save
what
us.
happens.
Love is a battlefield, ladies and gentlemen.
We've talked often about that we only say 30% of what we think. Like in our health.
Yes.
Yeah. That's success.
And I'm going to use the hour in a real specific way. In our health, and as I point my fingers. In our health, we only say 30% of the things we think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some of us say 70 or 90.
Or 90.
Yeah.
Yep. And we run out of time.
So speaking of weenus,
Yes. There it is.
There it is.
All right, Stephanie Skipper. Good
Hey.
Lord, you are a natural at this.
Yeah.
You
this is
are.
fun.
Man.
It's
welcome.
fun. It's- we
Welcome.
That shoe might need to stay right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that shoe
Let's
is.
shoot.
Yeah, can we leave it as a monument to
Yes.
your
Yes.
awesomeness?
And is
does
that
match
is that
my
considered to be a pump or
Oh,
Hey,
that's
just
a
for
stiletto.
fun.
Yeah.
Stiletto?
What color is that?
Would you just read her book? Would you just give a little bit about that? Because our community might actually love to read her book.
Yeah. I read it too. I just want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah,
I wonder
Mike
if that
read it
would-
and endorsed it.
Boom.
Yeah, and it's the story of Stephanie.
That's
in many ways that speaks to her relationship with her father, and it's insightful. It's well written. It's entertaining. So, I would encourage you.
What's it called? Where can we get it?
You can get it on Amazon.
Yep.
And the exact title.
Is Thank You for Failing
So
Me.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say thank you
Yeah.
for failing me, but then I thought that just doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Because it's a.
Yeah. You're like, what? Do
Yeah.
you mean that?
Do you really mean that?
Yeah.
And you do.
I do.
And you genuinely do.
Yeah. I wrote this book because I found a point in my life where I realized I wanted circumstances or people to prove that I was worth it, and they kept failing me. And then I found Love's voice that said, you have always been deeply wanted.
Yeah.
And if you continue to outsource that, you are handing your value to people that they can't actually. They're just humans,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
They were always meant to fail you so that you would return to me over and over again. I, who will never fail or abandon you.
Right.
Yeah. And so I could actually say, wow, I'm a deeply loved woman and I've always been wanted here, even though the circumstances I was born into, mentally ill father, parents divorced when I was 6 months old, you know, and there's addiction and suicide in my family and in my story. Yeah.
And Tim, your husband, shows up in the story, and
he was very generous to let me
write
write
real ways. I was like, I wonder where we're, you know, and I know the story because I'm
you've walked a lot of it out with us.
Yeah, I'm part of the story in some way on a peripheral side, and I was like, I wonder how she's gonna.
She said it.
We're gonna go right in.
Tim is very brave and courageous, and said, "Write this story like it happened. You have my permission." And I let him read. You know, we struggled in our marriage. Addiction is part of our story, and recovery is also part of our story.
Yeah,
and
it's a redemptive story.
It's
a redemptive story,
and it feels important to come out of hiding. And this ties into the we, like. I had to choose to come out of hiding. Tim had to choose to come out of hiding. But what we came out of hiding into is a we. Yeah. And we couldn't do this alone, and we weren't meant to. Yeah. So there are recovery rooms and there are church communities that say, how can we walk alongside you in this? Because you made the individual decision to step into this, but you're no longer alone. And so you are transformed as a result in community. And then I was able to reach out and love my dad in the last couple days of his life with a new, I don't need anything from you. Right. I was looking for so long for you to just esteem my value. And he was just an unwell man. And I think it's a hard lesson to learn that it's okay to want something from somebody, but it's also okay that they don't have it, and God can provide it in other ways. We get so attached to this person loving me in this way, and I need it from you or else, you know, instead of going, I'm realizing that I have a need. That need is not bad, broken, or wrong. Then I can pray that need or desire to God and stay open to how God loves me in and takes care of that need without attaching to like giving God assignments.
Right.
So anyway, the book is available.
Love it.
Thanks, Steph.
Thanks. Thanks for being our
thanks for having me.
guest.
Oh my gosh. Somebody stop this podcast.
Save
flesh and blood I made.
Mike's going to come to a karaoke party and participate one of these days.
Oh.
Woo! Everybody.
Oh, I'm not even in it. Forget you. Forget you, Timmons.
Okay, Erre, you got to move in.
Come on.
I'm not moving.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Journey Now. If for some bizarre reason you liked it, help us spread the word by leaving a review and sharing it on your socials. Journey Now is a production of Journey Church in Brentwood, Tennessee. Edwin Rivera III produces the show and fixes all the guests' slurping, gum chewing, coughing, and other annoying sounds. Randy Hansen provides technical assistance, even though he denies it. Grant Opperman edits Journey Now and intervenes when necessary to tell the crew that you can't say that. Special shout out to dear listener Brad Erre and dear YouTube watcher Seth Erre. If there's anyone else who makes it through each week, we're so sorry, and thanks to you too.